Right. Well, thanks everybody for coming. Hope everybody can hear me okay. Okay. Um, we do have the drawings in the back, so if you didn't get a chance, fill out your info, and then we're gonna draw at the end. We've got some little prizes for coming. We've got some giveaways in the back. We have jar openers. My mom loves jar openers, and I got pill splitters that are just kind of nice, and then she's got some chip clips and some adult coloring books. So we got some fun giveaways back there. You can take some. um, well, let's see. All right, so we're here to talk about aging in place today. um, so this is just, I liked this saying, aging in place is a choice that requires a plan. Um, I'm Christy Lundby Hill, been selling real estate this year 30 years. If you can believe it, I started when I was 10, so, Um, now I'm in my 50s now. Worked with my mom up until about COVID. I'm guessing some people probably know Jerry Lundby, my mom. She's, was in the office up until about COVID. So in the office with her for 26 plus years, I would say. And then that's my husband, Bill. He works with us too. And he just turned 60. So he is a boomer now. And so, you know, and then this is my nephew, Ben. So my sister, one of her children, he started with us 3 years ago, going on 4. Yeah, this is the 4th year starting working with him. Let's see what else I wanted to say. Let's see. Last year, I would say a third to half of our clients, I sell real estate if anybody doesn't know me, Edina Realty. A third to half of our clients were seniors. And that could be a culmination of my mom and just myself and my friends. And, we're all in our 50s and getting older. And so parents and all that kind of stuff. So I thought, I should take more senior classes. So I took some classes to get my senior real estate specialist designation. And then I wanted to help and do some more classes. So this past couple years, I started a women's networking group too. And then I met Jill. So you talk about yourself.
Yes, I met Christy about a year ago now. I think it's been a year. And My name is Jill. I am the owner of Impressive Windows and Interiors. I have a storefront downtown Hastings. And I will get into a little bit later about more about our background. But one of the reasons why I started focusing on this topic is that back in 2018, I had to think about this today. 2018, my mother-in-law, who was 64 at the time, um, she ended up uh, being forced out of her house because she couldn't live by herself anymore. I mean, at that young age, you wouldn't think you'd have to think about that, but we kind of were in a place where we had to make some tough decisions, and I kind of, as a designer, really absorbed all that information and thought, how can I make this better for other people? So I took a lot of classes within the American Society for Interior Designers and really started focusing a lot on accessibility and universal design in homes. So I'm hopefully trying to, or hopefully going to share information with you that you can take with you and help you in your own homes.
I kind of skipped ahead, didn't I?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
did.
I
That's
did.
okay.
It's all right.
That's all right.
So I have a little table of contents I was just going to go over. We're going to talk about understanding what aging in place is. Is it a good idea? The different generations, different stages that you are at, importance of planning, what's an ideal living situation, and then Jill's going to go into like home adaptabilities and modifications.
Yep.
And then sometimes your home doesn't fit for aging in place. So then what does that look like? What do you need to do then? We've got in the folder some safety assessments and then some resources. And this community center has a lot of good resources. So we'll talk more about that as well. Um, okay, so this is me. And
This
then
is me.
Jill. All right. So understanding aging in place. What does it mean? So basically, what it means is that you would like to, if you can, stay in the place or community that you're in for as long as you can and make it adapted so that you can do that. It might not work for every person in every situation, but the more changes you can make ahead of time might help you from having to go into a senior living situation, or longer. I mean, my mom moved into a one level townhome on Jackson at a much younger age than some people. I think she was in her 50s, and my dad was 6 years older than her. And she joked that when she would get there, because she was so young, my mom's a Spitfire, if anybody knows her, she'd go, oh, I get behind these slow people. They just go too slow for me. And she in her car. And so, but then after she aged, she was like, I am so happy that I did this because I got bursitis in my, knees and her foot or something. So she was very happy she went to a one level living. And now she says, you're taking me out feet first. So just so you know, Mom. That's kind of the way she explains it because she loves it there. But there's a lot of benefits to it because safety factors, not having steps. We've had several sellers that have had sunken living rooms or whatever, and one last year that moved to a one level townhome because um, she fell on the step, and so she was like, I got to get away from the step. So it just changes as you age a little bit. So there's definitely benefits financially also because if you can stay in your home, it's much cheaper, and mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, if you can. So we're going to get into more details about that. Is it a good idea? Well, I would say so. Um, there's health factors. So I put health as a major factor, and genetics play a role as you age and what ailments you develop. So, the no steps thing, it is harder as you get older to lift the feet. And so the steps can really become a problem. And Jill's got a lot of great suggestions for different rooms and things to do. But planning ahead of time is just, I mean, I've had clients that maybe were a little younger side and weren't quite planning for the older part of retirement because they were at the younger stage of retirement, and so they didn't always plan for the no steps thing. I mean, I kind of think of myself, and I had kids late, and like, why did I buy a two-story? And my husband's a little older than me, and so we're going to probably have to move again because I personally didn't plan on this when I was 7 years ago when we moved to our house. So, I try to educate people as they're thinking of doing a move to think a little further ahead so you don't have to move again because it is very expensive to move. A house that you can modify is obviously easier to do if you can get into a one level. Um, different generations. So I found this was very interesting when I did my class because they really talked about the different generations. And we sat there in our office going, boy, we've got a millennial, a Gen X, my husband's a baby boomer, and my mom's silent generation. So we've got all four generations on our team. And so it's kind of interesting because I would read some of this and go, oh, so the baby boomers are the forever young generation. So they don't realize they're going to get old and kind of want to. So in retirement right now, like they're the ones who are like, oh, I'm going to get a place in Florida and I'm going to have a place here. And then as they age a little, they kind of move back or get rid of one. The Gen X, which is probably myself, a little more comfortable with technology. The largest debt load of generations, I found out. That's what it said. And I was like, boy, I didn't realize that. But I suppose that would be an interesting thing to really look into. But, credit and all those things to my generation was a little different. Um, let's see, baby boomers, they want to seek experiences and freedom as they retire. And they have more of a gradual withdrawal from work. The silent generation, which my mom is in, was taught to play by the rules, be cautious, respect authority, plan and make decisions carefully. And I'm like, well, that's not my mom, but you know, kind of fits some of, not everyone, but the ideal retirement for the silent generation was possibly going somewhere warm, but not everybody could do it. But that would be the ideal for people. Um, I just think there's some real cool things when you're looking at all these different generations. I'm trying to think if there was something else that I found out about this. Oh, um, according to the World Health Organization, about 1 in 5 people will be 65 or older by 2030. Um, yeah, the silent generation. So my mom's, their decision to move is an emotional and complicated process. So they value their home and the experiences they've created there. It's where life happened, and there's a sense of obligation to keep the family home. So that can be some of the things people have to work through a little bit as you're, in different generations. So what else about the boomers? Um, Whether they're buying, selling, or investing, they know what they want and they've done a lot of research about it. So they're the ones who will do a lot of research and they want to maintain independence and don't want the kids involved. So, that makes some sense. I'm like, I get that. Um, and then the Gen X, so my generation, um, they have strong independence and want to do things themselves, which I get. And then your generation just probably is not thinking of retirement yet, but that's okay. Um, the next one here is pretty interesting. This talks about different stages, and I learned all about this when I did the class for senior real estate designation, and they categorized retirement into 3 different categories. Come on in, come on in. Um, so they called it the go-go years. So that's again the early retirement where you have time to think about things. You might, be mostly boomers, early retirees, and they don't have any urgent medical needs yet. And so they're off doing the things that are on their bucket list, because they have bucket lists. There's movies about that now. The slow go years start getting a little slower, usually age 75 to 85, can start getting some progressive and chronic health conditions. They might start thinking about some modifications in their home or lifestyle. They might start thinking about, I want to get closer to family. So I've had quite a few clients that have had a place in Florida and all of a sudden they're moving back here. And I think we probably all know people that did that and they're starting to move back, or they might still have a place there, but then that kind of gets interesting when you've got 2 places. I've got a friend of mine whose parents had a place in Florida and then they bought a 1-level townhome here, and then his financial person said, well, I didn't expect you to live till 95, so you're gonna have to sell one. You can't afford both anymore. So it does change over the years. And then there's the no-go years, and that's more, you're starting to have, like, you don't need the steps. You want to get away from the steps. You can have, it depends on your genetics too. The no-go years, some people have great genetics, and we just sold a house from a gal who lived in the country on her own in her 90s. How old was she? 93, 92, 95. Okay, last year. And she was not even ready to go to senior living or anything. She moved in town and she moved to the Quill, one of those senior apartments behind where the Green Mill was, and she loves it because that's we've had a couple of clients move there. That's a really nice place. But then there's people that we've had a client that had some bad medical issues, and she was in her 60s, and so she sold her place, moved in with family. So you just don't know what's ahead. So just planning for different stages as you age is important. There's lifestyle issues and safety issues. So lifestyle, I think, is harder for some people to give up their home. They're gardening, they're living in the country. To move in town, the thought of that is very emotional and heartbreaking for some people. And that's more because you're used to a certain lifestyle where you have to start thinking more about safety issues as you get older and making sure you're not going to stumble here and have this and you've got the things that you need. Um, and just planning for if a crisis happens because you just don't know something will happen. Do you want to talk about this one?
Sure.
The ideal living situation.
I'll
Switch with you.
Um, so your needs and your living situation are likely to change throughout your life as you get older. So knowing when you should start to prepare for this transition is key. It's never too early to start. So that's one of the main reasons why we're here. This can apply to someone if they are a millennial or if they are in the no-go years. It applies to everybody. And it's a scenario where I think in the past a lot of people didn't really want to talk about it because maybe they felt uncomfortable. But we're here to tell you that the more you plan, the better off you're going to be. It's going to save you money in the long run, and it's going to give you the independence that you really do need and want. So there's a lot of safety items that you need to be focusing in right now. Everybody should in their homes, because even if you are a millennial and you have your own home, you could have somebody that is the no-go generation coming to your home to visit. So you do want to make sure that your your home is safe for those people that want to visit. So it does apply to everybody. Um, for me personally, sorry, um, my grandma, who is 87, came to visit us last year, and we live in a modified two-story. We have a step down. It was a terrible situation, but she wanted to see her grandson graduate from college. So we brought her up. We brought a bed from storage, set the bed up, brought some mattresses in from somewhere else, and had her on the main level. And it was, it was what we could do to accommodate her, but our house just did not accommodate her staying as a guest with us. So it was really, she probably felt like an inconvenience, but I felt like a failure as a granddaughter and as a designer that, you know, we should have been thinking about this a long time ago. Um, so there are a couple of different types of things that you can do in your homes to make things safer, such as making structural changes to your home. Those are probably, pretty expensive, but there are also other things that are less expensive that you can do that aren't so structural or don't cost so much money. Um, but as far as structural examples, include grab bars, ramps, widening doorways. There's a wheelchair if you need accessibility, um, and modifying your kitchen for accessible use. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. Um, and you could also replace some of your home items to make things more ergonomic for you, such as like non-slip rugs, higher wattage. I don't know if anyone has LED bulbs in your house. If you don't, you need them now. I have, I always laugh and say that I have old eyes because I feel like over the course of a year, everything is dark in my house. I can't see anything. Once dusk hits, everything is dark. If you illuminate with LED bulbs, man, your life changes. Everything is a lot brighter and it's amazing. And there are a lot of other things that you can do too. Um, you can replace your traditional bathtub with a walk-in shower, um, and easy to handle kitchen utensils, ergonomic, like I said before, and replacing your doorknobs for levers, which are easy for, I just did it in uh, from my garage to my house so that when my hands are full, I just can use my elbows. That's really nice. Um, and setting up a security system in your house. There's a couple of different things that we noted in this slide. ADT, Wellbe Medical Alert, and Get Safe to help you feel safe and protected. There's the difference between all of them. ADT is the well-known burglary system, and the Wellbe Medical Alert is something that can be used as a pendant for to be activated by a voice or a push button to help in an emergency. And the Get Safe is something that I truly love because my grandma, she does not like to wear her device. So this is completely voice activated, which I think is wonderful. So as far as home adaptations and modifications, as far as entrances and exits, you've probably heard all these before, but if you haven't heard these and they're an aha moment for you, be sure to write them down. I said before in the last slide, add non-slip material to your outdoor doorways, stairways, add ramps or stair lifts as necessary, and that is, you can even add a stair lift outside. So it's a little more expensive, of course, but it can certainly be done if that can't be helped. And keep your lawn, deck, or porch areas clear of debris. And installing grab bars near the front doors to provide balance. You can see the image in the top center. There's a railing that you can hold on to if you need to establish balance. Turn your porch light on at night so that everything is illuminated and you can see what you're doing when you return home after dark. And this is where I'm going to talk about LED lighting again. Install LED lighting. We kind of jokingly call our house the landing strip because we've lived there for 20 years, but we have like the most bright and illuminated lawn because I want to be able to see when people are walking in. I want people to be able to see, but it also is a huge security. It's a burglary deterrent too. So if your house is well lit, um, burglars are going to be less likely to come around your house and peek in the windows because they're going to be on display. And as far as the LED lights outside, we have ours that they're programmed to go on at dusk and then they turn off when the lights or when at dawn. I'm sorry, yes, at dawn. And we find that it's just extremely helpful. And let's see, ice melt, of course. We've all heard of ice melt, but there's a new product called Heat Track. And this mat that you could get, if you just hook it up to an outlet outside and it melts all of the ice on actually anywhere. You can have stair tread heat tracks. You can have long strips of heat tracks. They just plug in and they heat up when it gets really cold and they melt all that ice so that you don't have a slippery entrance, which I found really helpful. And then make sure that your tread height on all your stairs is appropriate. So older homes tend to have shorter treads and taller treads. So you want to make sure that it's comfortable for you. That's something that's structural, but it is an adaptation that is, I feel, necessary to make it comfortable for you to walk in and out of your house safely. Okay, as far as living rooms and dining rooms, oh, it looks like I skipped one. So again, LED lights, you can install those everywhere. You can also, in living in dining areas, make sure that you have low pile carpet or no carpet at all. Nothing worse than having a rug or something get caught on a wheelchair or even your foot when you're walking, because I fell on rugs. There's also a thing called rug tape that you can tape the rug down. I do caution you if you do use that though. I found that it doesn't last forever. So it will start to lift after a certain period. So you want to make sure that you're always checking that. Lift chairs again, and for your furniture, firm seating. And make sure that the seating that you're choosing, such as a sofa or a chair, the depth is appropriate for your build. If you're shorter, you want a shorter depth to sit. If you're taller, you're probably going to want a deeper sit. and that'll make it easier for you to get in and out of your chair. So firmness is important. I know that's not, it's not the type of furniture that's going to hug you and make you feel like you're nice and protected, but it is going to help you in the long run get out of your chair. And as far as furniture, lift chairs, of course, are never going to go out. Make sure your traffic flow is not impeded. Make sure that there's 36 inches of space between like a cabinet or a piece of furniture and a sofa so that you can get around. I know that in this photo that's not necessarily true. So that's why I wanted to point it out, because a wheelchair or a walker is not going to be able to get through that space between the coffee table and the sofa. It might be comfortable for you to lay your feet, to put your feet up on the sofa table, but it's really not really for your best interest or in your best interest to have something that's that close. And levers on doors again. Window treatments. I want to talk about these because they are kind of an overlooked thing. We do specialize in them, but it's not why I'm talking about them. There's a lot better options out there. If you have arthritic hands, you can do simple things like um, you can get wands that are on the edges of your draperies. You can get ones that have little loops on them so you can grasp them and pull, and you can get longer ones too. So that's really helpful. You can also get motorized options where you can be sitting in your chair or your bedroom, wherever, and you can just push a button and your drapes or your window treatments will raise and lower, open and shut. So it's a security thing, and it's also good for you if you have any sort of uh, a need for reaching a high window, or you just aren't able to get up and out of a chair easily. And as far as a kitchen, keep your frequently used pots and pans within easy reach. Clean up your spills immediately. I found, I was doing a little bit research, there's a brand that I frequently see at Target called OXO, and it's an ergonomic, universally designed line of kitchen gadgets. So they're good for people that have that need to a little bit of extra grip. They may not be the prettiest, but they're that black plastic line that you see at Target. I'm sure we've all seen it, but it's really good. I did not know that until a few days ago that that was ergonomic. Your pulls and knobs on your cabinets, there it does make a difference. You may not have the most beautiful handles, but you should have some that are easy to grab. And so let's see which ones we want to have, like D-shaped pulls on your cabinet drawers, lever handles, bar pulls, which are the long pulls, kind of like on refrigerator, like a really long pull, so you could grab it at different heights just with your finger and open and shut. And touch and release cabinet, so if you touch it, it comes open at you. And C pulls or J pulls, so they're just like the metal just forms a little J or a little C, and you can just open and close it with your finger. So appliances, this is my favorite part, appliances. So with doing research and in my project presentations that I give, there are so many amazing appliances out there that can make your kitchen really easy for yourself, for your loved ones, but appliances. So refrigerators. Make sure that you have a refrigerator, if you're going to replace it, that has the fridge at eye level and the drawer at the bottom, because it makes it not only easy for you to reach things in the freezer, but you can also reach things at eye height. And that makes it a lot easier. You don't have to reach really high if you're going to try to put something in the in the freezer. And wall-mounted ovens. Wall-mounted ovens can be installed at any height. So that makes it can just be installed at whatever height is comfortable for you. And I'm just going to go through all the little appliances here. Front-loading washers and dryers are obviously easier to access, easier than going up and over. It's hard for me to grab those things, and I'm not short, but it's a definitely a challenge. They don't make it easy. And induction cooktops. If you've not heard of this, you need to think about this in the future. If you have somebody who you're really concerned with them living alone and using a stove of any kind, you could completely unhook the stove and give them an induction plate. And what an induction plate does is it only works with specific kinds of uh, pots and pans, and it doesn't get hot unless that pot is sticking on top of that induction cooktop. As soon as you take the pot off, it's completely cool to the touch. So it's really safe. And I have a induction cooktop, and it was $179. And then I think I got some pans for like 10 or $15 on it. I think it was at an auction somewhere. So they're pretty affordable, and it's a really nice, safe thing to have.
I'm just going to cut in there. Years ago, my grandma, my mom's mom, had Alzheimer's, and um, part of the reason they had to move out of the house was because she would leave the oven on, and it was a gas
Hmm.
stove. And so it was a kind of a hazard to have her home alone, and they always had to have somebody there. So I just thought, boy, that would be nice as an induction
Yeah,
thing.
definitely.
So there's different things nowadays for that.
And all the and also adding to the stove, the ones that have the knobs in the front, I always find those very, for me, I find them clumsy. Because if you're leaning against them, say to get something in your microwave or your cabinet above the microwave, and you lean on it and it can turn on. And I just don't think they're very safe. So if you have a choice, knobs in the back, if you don't get an induction. All right, so microwaves, again, microwaves. Did you know that microwaves were never intended to be over the stove, and they're considered a safety hazard to be over the stove? They really should be at just counter height, so that if you're in a wheelchair, you can reach things, but they're not supposed to be over. They do. It's considered a hazard if you're reaching over a hot surface to get something. You could drop it. You could also, if it's cool, you could drop it, and it could, break on that ceramic surface. Um, Dishwashers, drawer style dishwashers are a great invention because then you don't have to lean over. They're just like a drawer right underneath your, say, your island in your kitchen, and it comes right out. You load your dishes in your dishwasher, and you push it back in. It's a real shallow dishwasher, but nonetheless, it does the job. They work wonderfully. And touchless or single lever faucets in your kitchen. So I don't know if you've ever heard of these, but they're amazing. And my cat loves it too. So yes, he does get on the counter sometimes, but he noses it and it turns on. It's kind of funny. But they also have voice activated ones too now. So you could just say faucet turn on, it turns on for you. So that's kind of nice. Um, but if you have a cat, you might want to turn it off. But they help if you have any vision or a mobility impairment. So you don't have to reach out. You don't even have to know where the faucet is. And appliances with easy to read displays are always a plus too. I know I'm taking a lot of
That's
time.
okay. No, this is interesting.
As far as bedrooms, I think that was
Oh,
that
okay.
was the most. But bedrooms, adjustable beds, we've all heard of those. There's a lot of options out there. Adjustable beds are
Hmm.
great. Make sure you have non-slip flooring. I said before, low pile carpet or no carpet at all, and no rugs. Accessible storage. So if you lower the height of the shelves in your closets or have easy to pull out shelves, it's a lot better ergonomically for you. And you could, if you have an issue, if you are reading at night and you have um, vision issues, well, even for me with my old eyes, I installed some lamps that on the wall next to our beds because I just wanted something to be, focusing that light right on the book that I'm reading so that I'm not squinting and causing fatigue on my eyes. And you can also now not, you don't even have to have an electrician come in and wire those in. They have plug-in options, and they also have battery operated options too that you can have right on your wall mounted there for you. And additionally, put night lights and switches close to your bed if you have an option, if you're doing any modifications, and keep a flashlight near your bed just in case of an emergency. So right in a drawer is really helpful too. Keep mobility aids such as walkers and wheelchairs in close proximity to you. Place a landline or will charge phone near your bed. One of the greatest inventions that they have now, if you have, I don't know if it works with Android phones, but with iPhones, they have an all-in-one charger. So for an iPhone, for a watch, and for earbuds, you can put them on this wireless charger. You just lay them on there and they all charge. So you don't have to have all these plugs. It was like $20 on Amazon. Install emergency call system or keep a phone near you in case of an emergency. And make sure you have a firm seating area close to your bed so you can easily get dressed, put socks on. You don't want to sit on your bed to do that because you tend to sink in, and I don't think you have a lot of, personally for me, I don't have a lot of, it's a little, it's a little uneven, I think. Doesn't distribute your weight evenly enough when you're trying to get dressed. And as far as bathrooms, this is the one that I forgot to print. So this is a fun one though. I um, I fell in love with redoing bathrooms and helping people really understand why adaptations and modifications are necessary in bathrooms recently. I was working with a client here in Hastings. She moved her mother in with her, and her mother is in her 90s. And this client is in her 60s, and she wants her mom to live with her for, you know, um, for her entire life. And it's such a beautiful story. And she came to me 4 years ago, and I've been working with her just modifying different parts of her house all the time because she wants to make it as comfortable as she can for her mom. But we started off with this bathroom, and she just wanted to change the bathroom so her mom could use it and it was brighter. And she wasn't thinking anything beyond that. So what we did is I talked to her about universal design and how important it was to have her mom be able to be independent and go in there and use the shower herself. So we did a walk-in shower with a low curb, or a very, very low minimal curb, so her wheelchair could go over it. We used a non-skid um, on the flooring in there, and made it really bright, and it turned out beautifully. But she's always talking to me about how wonderful it is and how useful all the things that I went over with her were, and things like what we did is she has a smart toilet in there now. So her mother, when she's toileting, she doesn't necessarily have to worry about, I don't know if you've heard about like the days or toilets that clean you, but they're very popular, and they're very they're lower cost than they were say 5, 10 years ago. And what they do is they clean you after you're done in the bathroom. And then her mom is independent. Her mom can go to the bathroom by herself. She has that privacy, but also she's clean, you know, and that prevents other things from happening. And that was probably, I think, their favorite about that bathroom. And single faucets in bathrooms are wonderful as well. They prevent burning. So if you have a hot and a cold, if you have limited visibility and you accidentally touch the hot side, you need to touch the cold side or cold side, it could burn you. So they ask or they teach us to recommend the single faucet so that you don't have that much of a chance of burning. The accessible sinks for like a pedestal or a vanity uh, with no uh, cabinetry underneath, so a wheelchair can go underneath. That's always really helpful. And let's see
I
what
have one
else.
thing to say about the walk-in
Yes,
showers.
yes.
I'll get a call once in a while from a client and say, you know, I really want to take out my tub and put a walk-in shower. Will that affect my value of
Oh,
my house? So I'll get that call every once in a while, and I'm like, well, okay, let's think of your house. You know,
hmm
is it a two-story house? Is it a one-level house? Because who's the ideal client for your house when you sell it? If it's a two-story house and you're not going to have one tub, that's a house for people with little kids. I probably wouldn't. If it's a one-level home, the majority of people already don't necessarily. It depends on the size of the one-level home. But I'll kind of go through it and look it up and go through them. So if anybody has a question like that, happy to help you figure out if some of these modifications, if you're always, because some people are, I say resale, always think of resale because if you got to sell it. So she's the best at doing these things, but I mean, I also am a reference if you have a question on something like that. If I did this to my house and I'm going to sell it in 5 years, will that affect my value? So you can reach out to
Absolutely.
us with questions like that anytime. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Looking at the picture on the right,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of, I've seen a lot of newer homes with that kind.
Yes.
And it's not because an old person lived there. It's
Yeah.
because they like that openness, be able
Yes.
to walk into the shower
Yep.
like that. So if you go with that kind of design, I think resale that should be.
Oh, I think it's wonderful. The only time I would question it is that if you only had one bathroom with a tub and you had a two-story house that maybe is the type of house that a young family would turn around and buy with little kids because they want a tub to put the little kids in. So that would be the only time I'd probably say don't do that. But most cases, it's fine to do that. So yeah, and people love the walk-in showers. Yeah.
And if you're modifying your bathroom and you're not yet ready for um, items such as grab bars, what we typically have the contractors do, and this is for you if you're having a contractor do it, is to have them any put uh, reinforcements behind the walls so that you can put those grab bars in at a later time because it's really important that they go into a stud.
Mm-hmm.
So this bathroom on the right doesn't have those, but I suspect that it probably does behind the scenes have those. Um, okay. So on my last slide, done hearing from me. So as far as hallways, basements, and laundries, I kind of went over a lot of this already, but just as a, a recap, you're going to be in, it's great to install railings and install uh, lighting in those hallways, and you can also widen the hallways too. Those are all really good options for hallways and for visibility on staircases. It's really great um, if you have really good lighting, really good handles uh, for your on your hallway, and stair lifts. They're great options. Um, and if you have the option of changing your flooring, please don't put wood on your stairs. It's such a huge hazard, not even for somebody that has issues, but it's for everybody. I mean, I've been in houses before where if you have socks on and you're walking down the stairs, you can easily slip. They're just not a good idea. Not a good idea at all. Um, but keep the areas where you walk nice and tidy. And like I mentioned before about laundry rooms, just make sure that any appliances, if you're switching appliances, make sure that they are um, loading in the front rather than on the top.
Yeah, we just
So,
had a client this year, and I would say they were baby boomers, probably mid late 60s, and they were coming from a multi-level home and wanted to get to a one level. They were not ready for townhome living, and so they were like, we want a Rambler, but we gotta prepare and have main floor laundry. So we looked at houses where they could bring it up, and every house, because there's not that many that have it that were built years ago. So we found a house. I mean, we looked in the basement before they wrote on it and make sure that you could bring it up to a room, and it had a big walk-in closet that was by a bathroom. It had a master bath, so it had the plumbing there, and so it's important to think those things through when you're making a move, just to think for future
mhm.
reference, you know.
Um, I think that's, oh, one more thing, just if you have limited light in a hallway, in a basement, a landing of stairs, and you have a plug-in, there are options where you can put motion activated lights in those plugs. There's also covers that you can put over um, your outlets that they're also light sensitive, so you can turn them on and off too. But whenever it gets dark, a light comes on, so it at least illuminates the area a little bit. So you're not you're not in complete darkness if you're carrying something. It'll show you where the walls are, so that you're not, apt to fall or run into something.
Isn't there
So
even some neat stuff like just for plugins where they can have lights in them now?
that's what I said.
That's what it, okay, so
The
it's,
lights are like on the bottom and they illuminate down.
okay. I
I
just had a client who had that in all their house and they were moving to a
Yes.
new one and they're like, we're buying all new ones of that
Yeah.
because they love them
They're great.
so much.
They're
And I'm
they're
like, I
really
could
great.
do that.
You could still use your plugs. They just have this little switch on the very bottom, and you can either have it shut it off. Let's say, like my son, sometimes he sleeps in our basement when he comes home, and he shuts it off because he doesn't want any light. But otherwise they're turned on, and then it illuminates down so that I don't have to run into the wall in the bathroom or the basement when I'm walking up the stairs from my office. So really nice and helpful.
Neat things nowadays.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we'll switch back
Okay.
now.
All right. Who's got questions so far? Especially after all that. Yeah.
One of the items was to keep a tidy house,
Yes.
and this could be a 3-hour discussion on
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
downside.
Yes, I'm doing a class on that in April.
Okay, good.
Downsizing and decluttering. And I'm trying to find a lot more resources to help with that because I think that's a stumbling block of a lot of people is just there's a lot of emotional attachment to things and just it's hard to get rid of things. And so, you know, that's a big thing. I mean, that's a whole subject, but there's a lot, and the more you can do that, the better. Sometimes it, if you can hire a friend even to come over and say, you know what, I'll give you 20 bucks an hour. Come in and spend 5 hours with me and make me go through these few rooms. If you have somebody making you go through it with you, you're going to actually do it because you're paying them. I actually did that before we had kids. I had a lot of stuff in my basement and I was like, I got to declutter before, and I had a friend and I had her come do that. And she was like, okay, Christy, Goodwill, keep, or garbage? And I was like, okay. And she'd pull things up and it made me go through them. And I was like, garbage, Goodwill. Okay. So I got rid of a lot of stuff. And then at the end, we would take it all up the back of my car and I brought it to the Goodwill and dropped it off. So it was just a nice way to do it, and I had her come, what did I have her come? Like for 4 or 5 hours once a month for like 6 months and just made me get rid of stuff. And then when we did move, I was so happy that I'd done that because I didn't have to go back through all the stuff in the basement because that's a whole animal down there, of stuff that you collect because we do. There's a lot of things nowadays. So, and there's also, I've got a company that helps people, and I'll talk about this more when we do decluttering and downsizing class. They can come in, and I've had a few clients use them to pack up their house before they moved. And so I think his wife was in a wheelchair, and he was like, I can't pack up this house myself. We don't have kids in the state. So they were going to move to Winona to a townhome. I think, and they found something on a lake or something. And so I got him in touch with this company, and it's a senior moving company. And they said, you can live in your house up to 2 days before we move you. They will come in and help you go to your new place if you want them to and help you figure out what items would fit and help you figure out what pieces of furniture to keep and which ones to get rid of. They'll help you size it down, and then they'll have people come into each room and pack up each room, and then they'll go to the new house, and if you want them to unpack it, they'll even unpack it for you. so you can live in your house, And the guy that did that, he had to put tape on all the things he wanted, like these little stickers they gave him. And then he got rid of a lot of stuff in that month before they came to pack him up so that he didn't have to pay them to get the junk truck to come. Because, obviously they charge by the hour. But, I think he checked in with a moving company, and they have connections to moving companies that they have good prices with. So he'd called moving companies on his own, and I think it was going to be 4,500 to move him, and that was him packing everything. And I think the whole thing to have them come in, pack it, and move him was like 6,000. So it wasn't huge amount more because of their connection with. So it's not cheap, but I mean that's why if you can plan ahead more and start doing some of those things on your own, obviously the better and cheaper it is to do things like that. But there's options for people. We had a mom moving in with kids down in Arizona, and mom could not pack up. And so the kids came up, had that moving company come up and pack her, and then they had 2 junk trucks come and get rid of the rest of the stuff. And it was very hard on her because she didn't have control over what was being packed and what she had to leave behind. So, I mean, that's the whole goal of doing this planning so that you have more control over, before a crisis happens. And all of a sudden, you're not making the decisions, your family is making them for you because you're in a crisis mode. So that's kind of the goal of planning ahead. Going through all this has made me, my sister and I are going to have dinner with my mom on this Friday night, and we're going to start doing some planning with her because I'm like, Tracy, we need to go talk to mom. We need to just make some plans because a lot of times you don't want to get your kids involved, but it's important to. If they're ones that not all kids probably, everyone's different, but if you can and you have that situation, it's better to just make a plan. And if you're, doing this early enough, letting your family know what your wishes are and how you want to do this as you age and hopefully age in place is good so that they know what your wishes are because things can all of a sudden happen and you just don't have control then. And I think as you get older, I mean, I'm a control freak and I can admit that. My mom is too. And so we can, I get that she wants to be in control too. So, it's nice to have some control over things that happen as you age and stuff. So, any other questions as we're going here?
I thought there was another one back.
Is there another one? Yeah.
I was wondering how do you widen your home?
That'd probably be like a room change, wouldn't it?
Yeah. You'd have to.
In a landlord,
Mhm.
and you have this narrow hallway with closets, with bathroom, bedroom.
It's not always something that is possible with each home. It's best to talk with a contractor about what is possible in your house because you have to take into consideration any load-bearing walls that you have. So what we would defer that to our contractor.
Because I have measured the hallway, and I measured the wheelchair. There's no way you could put wheelchair down the hallway.
Each house is so different.
Yeah.
I mean, like I would think 50s, 60s houses might with plaster walls be a little tougher
Mhm.
than 80s, 90s houses where you've got all drywall and stuff and probably a little bit easier to maneuver some changes to room sizes if you need a certain hallway or doorways bigger.
You can
Yeah.
probably have a contractor come out there and talk to you about it for no charge to see if it's even possible.
Yeah. Lots of stuff, huh? Okay, so some houses will not work for aging in place. So then people are like, what do I do if our house is not something I can age in place very easily? So I thought I'd just bring up, what do you do? The first thing I would do is figure out where are you at? Do you want to move to we had 4 or 5 clients move in with family in the last year. So is that an option? Are you thinking, we've had a few people move to like the Quill, so senior apartments. We've had a couple move to Augustana to senior living apartments. We've had some where I'm dealing with the kids and their parents have had dementia or Alzheimer's and they've had to move into memory care. So, and then we've had some estates. So, lots of different moving parts, different situations. That's where I would say you might want to have somebody out and say, you know what, I just want to plan. It doesn't cost for you to have a realtor out if you've got a connection to one or whoever you want to have out. It's good to, I like to sit down with people early. I was at one client's house this couple months ago and they're like, we're not moving for 5 years. That's our plan. And I'm like, that's fine, but they want to do some remodeling. And so they had, plans on doing things and wanted my advice on what's going to keep and retain value, what's not. So, and plans change over time, but I'm like happy to come out anytime. It doesn't cost anything to have us out. We're here to help people. So it is good to have a talk through on, how would you do this if you have a house that you live in now and you want to move to another house? Well, how do I do that? Sometimes it's better for people to figure out how to buy first. So we kind of talk to them about if their house is paid off or close to being paid off and their goal is to buy this house and not have a loan afterwards from their old house, then I would say you probably want to talk to a bank about a bridge loan. The reason it's easier for people as you get older to do a move first is um, you want what you want and you want to get what will work for you. If you're going to a one-level townhome, let's just say. So to be able to find one that you like in the area you want that fits your needs, you want one with a basement, without a basement. It's better to, if you can buy first, it'll be a lot less stressful. So a bridge loan is they do a loan against your old house so that you could buy that and secure the new house. And then some people close on that and then slowly move over what they want. Then they realize what they don't need and then they get rid of that and then they put their house on the market. And so it's a lot less stressful because sometimes they need 2, 3, 4 months to move, to kind of slowly move, because you don't move as fast as, it's hard to do it all in one day anymore. That's more for the millennials. Um, so the bridge loan is nice. The other option is there's a recast loan that I've used a lot. I've had a lot of clients use that. We even did that when we bought 7 years ago. A cool program where you'd have to qualify. If, let's say you had a little teeny mortgage on this house and you were going to buy a townhome and your goal was to have a $100,000 mortgage after you bought the townhouse. If your goal was to have an end loan when you buy the new house, this program allows you to buy it non-contingent so you can secure the one that you want and you only have to put 5% down. And then you can close on that or you can put your house on the market in the meantime. And then when your house sells, then you can take that money that you have, your equity, put it on the new house that you only put 5% down on, and they re-amortize the loan. And it's like a $300 cost. And you got, so it's really slick. There was a few years we used it probably 10, 15 clients a year. So it in the market where contingent offers were going too fast. Yeah.
What's the difference between a bridge loan and a
Recast? It depends on if you want to have an end loan on the new house. That's where I would say if you have enough equity and you're going to buy something and your goal is to not have a mortgage, I would do a bridge loan. It's a little bit less in closing costs to do that. Vermilion Bank does a ton of them. They do a lot of bridge loans and some of the other banks. And then recast loan are, your original house was worth 300 and you're going to buy a really nice townhome for 400 and you're okay having a $100,000 mortgage, then you put 5% down to secure this, and then when you sell the 300 you put it on that and you have a $100,000 mortgage and they re-amortize it. So it's a slick way. It's not very well known, And I try to tell people about it, and they're all like, "What? I didn't know about that." Not many people talk about it, but I've been using it for, gosh, 15 years, I'd say it's been around. It's just not all the banks talk about it. A lot of the mortgage loan officers don't even know a lot about it. So there's, different ways. It's good, and some people have to sell first before they can buy. And that's another option, but then you need to think through that. How can we do that so it's the less stress to you because it's stressful moving? So then you got to think about, I've had some clients that want a one level townhome, but they want it with a basement because they have family a lot. And then you've got some that are, I know so and so who had, now my spouse is gone, I just want one level, no steps. So we have had this year 2 people who actually were in one level townhomes with basements and moved to a one level with no basement, with no steps, because they still had a few things with the steps they didn't want to deal with anymore. So there's different options and different things, but it's good to just plan a little, talk it through, Um, any questions on that? Because that's a lot of stuff. All right. Well, if you have any, just let me know. Home safety checklist. So in that blue folder, we've got 2 checklists from for aging adults. We kind of looked through and try to find some good ones. I think it's in the right side.
I gave it out already.
Yeah, it's in the right side. And there's a couple of sheets in there that I've just got for some other flyers as well that you might find helpful. Now, I put this sheet in there as well. Skills you must have to age in place. So the reason this is from the National Library of Medicine, I'm guessing that this is probably what they use. They're called ADLs, which is activities of daily living. So, I mean, obviously, if somebody is not able to feed themselves, they're not going to be, if you're going to a doctor, they're going to say you should not be probably on your own anymore. So these are just kind of some instrumental things depending on where you're at, Hopefully we all can go through this as smooth as possible, but it's hard because life changes and we can't control that. But I just thought that was an important page. The resource is and community. So I took a lot of that from that little blue book. I had some in the back, and I'm hoping up front at the senior center they'll get more of them. Does anybody have one of those handy? Yeah, can you just put that up? So that's from the Hastings Senior Resource Directory, and they have those here. And I think I grabbed a few, and they might have a few left. And if you want, you might have to stop back because we'll probably use them all up in this class. But that has so many resources for you. Darts in Hastings, I didn't realize how many things Darts did. They can have people come do house cleaning. They can do some yard work. They can do transportation. There's people that can bring you food. There's people you can get for house cleaning. So they are a very good resource, and there are so many other resources that this place has. We are so lucky to have the senior center here with the resources available, and they have just so many people to help you with that. This was a website that I've discovered. It's on the next page. It's at the bottom, mnseniorsonline.com. Great website. They have on the left side of the website, they have a thing that says aging in place. Mm-hmm. And if you click that, it brings you to all of these plus more. So they've got, and then it goes to websites of different companies for different things. So they had alert systems, lifts, wheelchair people for senior accessibility, adjustable beds, care management, companionship, errand services, estate management, hearing services, home care, meal prep and delivery, nail trimming, organizing, downsizing. In fact, that company that I was talking about, I went on to they're on there. And then I think they might even do some downsizing and come in and help people. But obviously, if you can get a friend to help you, it's probably cheaper than hiring somebody to help you go through stuff if you can, find somebody that would be good for that. And then personal emergency response systems, transportation. So I found this website to have a lot of good resources and website where you can just click to different places. So yeah, they've reached out. I don't know, they heard about us doing this class or something and wanted me to know about their website. So I went on there and looked and found it very helpful. Okay, questions and questions? Anything? Yeah, we're gonna do the drawings too.